And
My
no pressure, of course.
Yeah, my suggestion is, we push forward and then we just
Okay.
kick off with you, and then hopefully we'll have time as people listen and engage, as each of you participate or not at the end. Please introduce yourself, especially if you're a Global Chamber member, and move forward for sure. Are you going to be leading, Zazi, the conversation, kind of like the moderator?
Yeah, moderating. Yeah.
Okay.
I will do my best.
Well, thank you. I'm as far as the recording is concerned, we have started the recording. I'm pleased to introduce Zazi as our facilitator today on this important topic. The digital landscape for the world is evolving, and I love the fact that, Zazi, you've been so integral in that, and now from your base in Europe and your activities in Africa and involvements with a variety of leaders, including Roberto Ancis, you're able now to continue to make progress and continue to have an impact to facilitate trade. So I turn it over to you. Thank you for your membership within Global Chamber, your support and collaboration, and your innovation, which I'm sure you'll highlight today.
Thank you so much, Doug. Before I start, just as usual, always a very big thank you to Global Chamber and all the support that we have had continually from you, the referrals we've had. I'd like to think we would not be where we were today if it wasn't for that starting point when we had our first online meeting, and it has really defined the way forward. So lovely to be here with everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. And I think tonight really is our title for the evening is Building Digital Bridges Between Africa and the US. From ONEZSM's perspective, so obviously I'm co-founder of ONEZSM, and I think to start off with, I'd like to just bring into the discussion the fact that our goal here is really simple and powerful. It's about raising awareness on how we truly can work together to empower small businesses at a grassroots level, especially cross-border. I think this opportunity that we have allows us to collaborate in a different way to the ways we have done before. And this particular event is effectively marking the beginning of what has been a collective effort in the works between ONEZSM, the African Free Trade Union Policy Network, and Professor Ancis. And I'd like to call it our current trifecta, for want of a better word. I think each one of us brings, or each of our organizations brings, something unique and special into the mix. And together we're creating essentially a three-step process to empower the SMMEs. And I think that's always the most important thing to remember. Everything that we're doing is really about, we all talk a good game and we all know the challenges and frustrations that SMMEs deal with, but we now have an amazing and doubly unique opportunity to work on the ground with those SMMEs and give them the tools and the solutions they need to shift their narrative. I think we have the opportunity to help them grow beyond borders. We know that no business operates in isolation, and just like no man is an island, I think we need to approach business in the same way. What we can achieve together is so much more than what we can achieve separately. And I believe Professor Ancis and Kwasi, who will join us shortly from APN, we all believe that we want to be in business and obviously be successful, but we want to do well because we're achieving our end goals and we're empowering the people that we want to empower, leaving a solid footprint behind. So I guess tonight is really about laying the groundwork, not only in terms of just a basic introduction to ONEZSM, but also the fact that we have, which for us is a huge opportunity. We've just signed what they're calling a landmark MOU with the African Free Trade Policy Network, which means we are in line to become the official platform or marketplace for African SMMEs. But similarly, along with that, we can't get to the next step without Professor Ancis's input. So our goal with APN is really to facilitate visibility, access to new markets, etc., but also intercontinental trade in Africa. And with Professor Ancis, we have the opportunity to work with select businesses either on their own or in cooperatives and introduce them to US markets with all of the professor's knowledge of what to do, where to go, the processes to follow, and the training that we can offer, I think will be invaluable to the people that we're working with. So I think I should probably introduce you, Professor, because Kwasi's not made it here yet. Is that okay? From my perspective, sorry.
I was talking with a microphone muted, so
But is that sorry, we talking over each other.
Yeah, absolutely. It was going to be a great presentation, muted. You know, like remember the mute on film, or the
with the mime factor.
Yeah, or the silent auctions, right? And
But
of course, everybody.
Are you happy with that? If we move forward to you, alternatively,
No.
perhaps we can ask people a few questions. Would you prefer to wait?
No, we definitely can proceed. No problem at all.
Lovely. Well, for those of you that don't know Professor Ancis, he's become our special magic charm, instrumental in shaping our direction. He has a lovely analogy about how we all look at everything from up in the sky, but need to be pulled down to earth and have a reality check. I don't say it as well as you do. So maybe you could share that with everybody later. But I'd like to think working with Professor Ancis, we've developed a solid sort of practical roadmap to help businesses expand, not just locally, but internationally. I would also like to mention that our initiative is open to SMMEs globally, even though we have a solid focus on Africa and a solid focus on women and youth. But I think it's a perfect example, our partnership with Professor Ancis, in terms of just like people need partnerships to survive, those of us in business, especially new businesses with what we believe are great ideas, we need partnerships to thrive. And if we put our resources and our knowledge and ideas in terms of innovation, etc., together, I think we can create great change. So now it's over to you, Professor.
Thank you so much. So
You're
let
welcome.
me just see if this works. Oh my God, it works. Can you see the screen, Zazie and Mika? Okay,
I can
awesome.
absolutely see.
Fantastic. So it is an absolute pleasure for me to work with Mika and Zazie. These are new friends that we actually met on July the 8th, and the time went so fast in terms of the time that Kronos, the old god in Greece, controls, right? The transfer of time. And the relationship and the partnership that ONEZSM has created with the African APN network is absolutely fundamental. So we're going to have two Globinars. So the one Globinar today, okay, let me see if I can move forward here. So come on, is wonderful. Tick. Okay, yes, absolutely. I found the secret match. So let me explain to you what the intention is for everybody who's attending today. By the way, thank you to the Global Chamber. Thanks to Doug, the incredible founder and promoter of the organization globally. And thanks to everybody who's attending today. In today's Globinar is basically an introduction of the companies. So ONEZSM, and then the African organization, the APN, and then basically 30,000 feet overview of the plan that we've been discussing together. So today is basically the 30,000 feet, whereby you get to know who we are, you get to know what the organization is, you get to know what the mission of the organization is, you get to know some of the strategies, but not all the details. And then the second Globinar, and Zazi and Mika will announce the next date with Doug when that's going to happen. That's more of a technical portion, whereby we actually get involved to describe from a technical point of view and a commercial point of view how we're going to be actually introducing thousand African companies to the US as member of ONEZSM. It's an incredible program. Totally a revolution in the program. It's not just an e-commerce. It's just basically, we call it V-commerce or virtual commerce, whereby virtual reality and augmented reality and possibly holograms are going to be part of the strategy. Database, AI specifically designed to monitor the progress and direct the progress. And AI, not only just the metrics, but also the how do you relate with foreign cultures and how do you adapt foreign cultures to the wonderful American culture. So that's basically the plan of today. So I'm going to start describing a little bit more about who we are. And is it really interesting? What joined us with ONEZSM is our mission. They seem to be almost identical in the sense that the mission of coaching professors since its formation and prior to that is making a positive difference in our clients' business growth strategies. And at the same time, making a positive difference in the life of people. So by the time we work with customers and clients and people, the planet gets to be a better planet. So that fact that there is this commonality of interest has really created a wonderful relationship. I truly, authentically love both Zazi and Mika, who are the material they send me is so impressive at the 30,000 feet mission level, which is just incredible. And you'll get to know it as we move forward, of course. So when basically our company was formed in two different stages. One stage was the California stage. And then the second stage was the Arizona stage. So a group of professors at the National University in California, most of us have technical degrees as a background. My background is physics, chemistry, and computer science, and also business, of course. So we have about 8 to 12 people in the company. All university professors, all consultants of 10, 20 years, quite versed in international business. We've actually trained, for a small company, we actually have a lot of reach. Since 1982, when we formed the company, we have reached about 1,100 companies, of about maybe 200, 250 were actually foreign clients. And today we have trained about 84,000 people in the field of personal growth and personal effectiveness. So we've done a lot of reach in terms of how we actually approach making the positive difference in the life of our clients. Now, what's really interesting is that in the first 10, 15 years of our work, we basically concentrated on American companies, how to bring them to the US. And in the last 10, 15 years, instead, we work basically with foreign companies. We have agents in Israel, in the UK, in Germany, in Milan, in Sydney, Australia, in Canada, in Mexico, and I'm sure I forgot some of the countries, but that's pretty much where we have expanded. And one of the challenges that we have encountered in our work with clients, when you bring foreign clients to the US, is how do we adjust that culture, which is different in another country, to the American culture? And most of the time, the interesting point is that people think of America as the United States. Well, as the word says, United States, it doesn't mean it's one state. So what's really interesting from a commercial point of view, which we'll discuss next week, is, or next time we meet, is what's really interesting is there are 8 fundamental cultures in the US. And the way you market products, let's say to the East Coast, New York, is quite different than Florida, quite different than the Midwest, Chicago, Cleveland, Milwaukee, etc., and California and Oregon, the West Coast. It's really interesting. If you use one strategy on the East Coast, on the West Coast, it will fail. If you use the strategy on the West Coast and the East Coast, will fail. So the interesting is going to be when we bring these 40, 50 nations and thousands of entrepreneurs from Africa, we'll have to have a pre-training. We'll have to explain to them how America works and how the language and the messaging to the American public, the American consumer, needs to be different depending what you market, depending what you produce. It depends on your strategy of approaching your customers. And that is really in 1988, we started working considerably in a field called mind dynamics, and specifically in terms of the consumer decision-making psychology. Without understanding the consumer-making psychology, it's very difficult being able to be successful in marketing anything in the world. The question is, what motivates the customer to buy the specific product? And just as a hint, people buy because they want to solve a specific problem. So unless you identify the problem that they want to resolve, you can't be successful in the market of your product. So one of the strategies that we'll have with the courses that we're going to be offering for African entrepreneurs is, first of all, what is that they produce? What are the features of the product? But more important, what are the benefits? Because benefits sells and features don't sell. So that's going to be the approach that we'll have to actually move this the entire scenario forward. So let me go back and retrieve back my files, which got corrupted. That's why I went to the screen. And let me just go back here and talk. Let's talk a little bit about the the technology. Let me move it here. Okay. So what technology do we have at Coaching Professors? Well, we have, between all of us, we have fundamentally most of the people who work with us are engineers, whether it be software engineers, mechanical engineers, etc. We have 3 individuals who have degrees in physics, 2 in chemistry. We're done work in information technology, very important to the US market entry, believe it or not, since 1968. The first computer program that we worked with was IBM 1401, which has thousands of packs of punch cards to actually produce program. Then 360 IBM, database management. And one of the knowledge that we accumulated in the past 10 or 15 years is really digital marketing technologies. How do you technically reach customers that typically cannot be reached? And the digital environment, together with the database environment, is one of the secrets of the success of any kind of digital market in the US, and we'll get involved into that more in the next Globinar. We also going to be, we also have worked with AI since, it was 1994, when it was not even called AI. We were actually doing predictive behavioral outcomes of market responses using Access Microsoft, using Excel, using SQL as a program, C++, and we all done manually. So we could predict people behavior, purchasing behaviors. And one of the things we'll do for any industry in Africa that brings the product to the US, for example, herbs, spices, cosmetics, we'll actually create on behalf of ONEZSM for their members will create a special intelligent predictive model to actually predict how the product will have to be changed, adapted, or modified or sold. We have access through allied strategic companies. We have access to 1,400 AI coders in Southeast Asia. So it's not trivial. We can probably direct how AI can be developed for each particular client or member of ONEZSM that's going to be created. We have experience in social engineering. How do you get people to come back and talk to you or be part of your organization? We basically guide any client using metrics, both qualitative and quantitative metrics. We have worked for the last 10 years with some of the top leaders in the country and globally in virtual and augmented reality, predictive outcomes, and risk assessment. So those are the technology portion of what we have available behind what everybody will see. So any kind of social media that will be designed, any kind of web access that will be designed, any kind of blogging and conversation with customer will be designed, any kind of customer response and customer service client that will be a response. In fact, yesterday, believe it or not, and ONEZSM doesn't know yet, I spoke with one of the largest global organizations that has been designing programs to actually having intelligent, ethical, empathic AI to speak with customers instead of customer service. And in fact, I'm working with them on a particular beta test to find out. So that is basically our technology. In terms of commercial expertise, we basically covered the gamma. You know, we start from strategic planning, marketing and sales strategy. Sometimes we go to company and fix their sales department, they don't work. We basically provide growth of the company, the client, by utilizing looking at financial ratios. We have outstanding, and we have association with a black belt Sigma organization to train manufacturing organization to become more effective. E-commerce and v-commerce is incredible. Our market research is based on Boolean technology, which means it's really a detailed examination of the market. We have raised capital for companies, and eventually we'll have to assist, we'll want to assist ONEZSM in terms of defining what kind of funding do we need to go fuel, right? If you have a Ferrari in your garage, if you don't have fuel to put in the car, nobody in the city will know you have a Ferrari, right? So digital marketing, innovative marketing is basically our staple every day. Push, pull, and adaptive consumers outreach. We also form strategic partners with legal and CPAs for their assistance of our new clients. And finally, one of the most important things in the US is the ability of knowing how to and where clients have to go to certify products to enter the US market. Let me ask a question. Trevor, can you hear me okay? If you can unmute yourself, it would be awesome. Trevor,
I can hear you.
I thank you for being here today, by the way. Trevor, I have a question. Have you ever been involved in looking for certification for foreign products for the US market?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so let me tell you this. There are 10 organizations in the country, and but let's talk specifically. I met in the past 4 weeks to about 140 different African organizations and entrepreneurs. One of the things that they seem to be a common ground in Africa, they produce a lot of herbs and spices. Now, this seems to be simple, but the truth is, if you want to introduce herbs and spices to the US, you got to talk to the Department of Agriculture to get a permit. You got to talk eventually to the Food and Drug Administration, depending what you produce. You got to talk to the Custom Entry Protection Agency to actually get the tariff for the particular product. So, and then depending what other companies there are up to about 10 different agencies. So it's not trivial. In the field of computers, for example, if you want to bring anything electrical to the US, you need the underwriters, laboratories, permitting, and that takes between 6 and 8 months, and the costs vary anywhere between $60,000 to $120,000. So there is the impression when we have a foreign client that they can start selling tomorrow. Well, that's not true. So, Trevor, what is your background and what is that your company does, so that everybody here knows? Because I met you before and I thought it was very interesting.
Background is in education. I was a science teacher and then a principal in the States, still in the States, based out of Dallas. Now I'm a part of a company called Performance Scoring. We do business operation systems, totally web-based, and my role in the company is client education support. What I do is I talk to business owners. I see what their current processes are and then consult them on a process to make their operations smoother. And then, of course, how our web software can allow that to run very, very smoothly for them. One of the biggest factors in our software is our meeting platform that allows people not just to meet via Zoom face to face and have conversations, but to share resources, document conversations, and increase productivity between people who are collaborating on certain endeavors.
Thank you, Trevor. And on a separate note, we met before in other workshop, et cetera, but if you can make sure, Trevor, to reach out to me, because this is a huge, huge project, and we need professional companies and individuals like yours with your expertise for the purpose of facilitating not only the process of bringing in foreign cultures to this country, which you know is a challenge, but also once you're here in the country, how do you manage their growth, how you track their growth, right? And how you identify what I call ineffective business behaviors so they can actually be modified for the purpose of getting them to be successful. And the American continent, Trevor, you'll find out, I don't know if you're familiar with Africa. I work with Nima Mleli, who is our representative, but she's the director of the Global Chamber in Tanzania. And she's actually introduced me personally in the past 4 weeks to almost 130 different African entrepreneur women. And I have to say this, they're all brilliant, all creative, but each one of the groups of the industries are quite different in the sense of what are the anxieties, what are the fears, what are the modalities for the entry and everything else. So it seems like we need to do what ONEZSM will do will provide this incredible environment for training individuals who have not come here to this country yet, which is huge, right? And being able to basically explain, teach, and adapt foreign cultures to actually the US market, and then eventually globally. And so companies like yours will be very interesting to create additional alliances for the purposes. So if you can make sure to remember the Trevor, that would be awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, and thank you for being here again today. Okay, now going back to the, okay, you were here. Okay, we're here. Okay, so let's talk about what I always talk in my programs is how do we get from 30,000 feet down to landing, right? And so these are basically some of the steps they will be suggesting and recommending and detailing and working together with both Mika and Zazi in terms of how do we bring these, not only African cultures, but how do we actually promote international trade? And the first one is, and the first comment is, when you're looking at the African continent with 50 more companies, with hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs, the question is, how do you organize it? Well, if you start bringing products from a continent that has hundreds of different products and applications, etc., it can become very confusing. It will take forever to enter the American market. So the strategy here is a little bit different. What we do is we look at what is the demand in the US market for products and services. Once we have done that, which is one domain, we'll look at, okay, if this is what the US needs, what can Africa offer in this domain? So we basically get the two circles together and we found the communality. So the effort that they were going to do in each particular zone of development could be the US, can be the EU, can be Asia, can be South America, is always the question is, what is a demand-driven organization? Demand-driven organizations, research and marketing limits and reduces the amount of time to enter any market. Now, let me just give you a very brief example. For example, there are in the US, more or less, there are about 48 million African Americans. Yes? Well, of those 48 million, probably about 50% are women. Why do I say women? The interesting thing is, Zazi, this may be true in Europe, maybe not, but the decision maker here in the US for buying 85% of consumer products are women. So if you come to the US, design a marketing strategy to reach men, you only reach 15% of decision makers. So the strategy is, how do we reach women? How do women think? What do women want, and everything else? But if you have about 24, 25 million women, yes, in the US that are looking at, let's talk about the field of cosmetics. I'm very familiar with that. We work with many of the largest cosmetic companies in the world. But let's say just shampoos. And now let me talk as a chemist. As a chemist, from a technical point of view, the components, the protein components of the African American hair and African hair is different than the Asian hair, is different than the South American hair, is different than other hair type. So the creation of the bringing cosmetic products from Africa and hair care products from Africa to the US market is going to be literally at $100 million worth. The African American woman in the United States every month spends between $300 and $600 in care products, skin care, cosmetic care, hair care, wrinkle management, weight loss, etc., etc. So if you bring, let's say, 100 African companies to the US doing cosmetics of some kind, and 30% of them succeed, and each one of them arrives at $1 million a year, we're talking about a $30 million a year potential in the first couple of years for ONEZSM in terms of the V-commerce and in terms of the African continent. So 27 million women, multiply that by, let's say, $300 per month and multiply that by 12, you get close to $1 billion. That's a market that can be developed by ONEZSM with the association with the APN and bringing African entrepreneurs, well-trained, well-educated, and well-guided to the American market. So it's just huge. It's just incredible. And that, what does that mean? When you start creating the goal and the intention, why that? Why are we going to bring African continent companies just because they are cheaper than anywhere in the world? The answer is yes, but not only that. The truth is, the American continent, the African continent, has been subjected to colonies and exploitation for hundreds of years. You know, Italians, English, Dutch, Portuguese, etc., French. And so we got now a very creative, you should meet some of the women I met through Nima Menli and her organization in Africa. These are creative, intelligent women. They create really some real businesses in Africa, but they need a larger market to play. And the ability to bring these companies digitally to the US market has some challenges, but also some incredible payouts. And that's the goal. That's really the intention of ONEZSM, is to expand the crafting, the entrepreneur of a small business anywhere in the world. Right now, today we're talking about Africa, but South America is another incredible place. Southeast Asia and Asia, another incredible place. So the intention that fascinated me, having been in business internationally for 50 years, is more than that. With Italy, being in Italy, I'm originally from Florence in Italy, but I've been here in the US now 55 years. What attracted to me about Mika and Zazi is their vision to make this a better planet. And as we know today, with the world, with the wars that are happening, and it's just is clear from history that when trade is developed, when people get to know each other, then wars subside and become more like an exchange, a trade, a conversation. And when we use the US market to be the funder, the fuel of this entrepreneurship economy in Africa, same thing as, listen, how did Japan become the economy that it has been? They started exporting to the US motorcycles, then they exported cars, then they exported everything else. How did China become the second or the third, the first largest manufacturing company in the world, group in the world? By using the US as a supermarket. I mean, we are literally the supermarket of China today. And so that is how foreign continents have grown. And Africa can utilizing the same strategy. ONEZSM can drive this foreign, literally continent, to focus on how to reach the American market for the benefit of the American market and also for the benefit of the African market. And while we're developing this relationship, this bridge from Africa to the US, there has to be some adaptations in Africa, some changes in Africa, some structuring development in Africa. And I'm not going to talk about that because we're going to have Kwasi come over as soon as he's out of his car challenges in wherever he's driving at. But the idea is utilize this incredible capital with 350 million buyers in the US for feeding the African entrepreneurs who then can upgrade technologies, upgrade manufacturing, upgrade strategies, and upgrade technologies, and then entering the US market, the EU market, which is also a very large market. Right now, the EU market is not doing real well. Germany is down 5.5% on the GDP. I just spoke yesterday with the Consul General from Germany, and the UK has got new management in terms of the government. So, but the idea is, how do we create a better planet by adopting what we are doing? So we're talking about education, guidance in business, exchanges in adaptation of the understanding of foreign cultures. So all this is true, and all this is what ONEZSM has as a goal. And that goal really fascinated us because it is really making a positive difference on the planet. So let me go back here a second. I got another couple of slides. So what is the steps for the members? Well, let's talk about Africa for a minute. So the idea here is to actually, through the APN, to actually have Africa know ONEZSM and the potential in the world that they provide. Then the idea is, if you want to become a participant in this bridge to Africa, bridge to America, bridge to Europe, etc., you will become a member of ONEZSM with a different level of membership, and to be announced by both ONEZSM. And then, let's say, for example, they want to come to the US. There are very special courses before exporting to certify your product and to understand the market. Exporting, what you need to do. For example, it's not just like if somebody's ordering to you, for example, a bottle of perfume or cologne, or a couple of tubes of shampoo or toothpaste, or some spices for your dinner or lunch at home to cook. You can't simply order from the Tanzania or from Nigeria and expect it to be at your doorsteps the day after. So the strategy of entering the US market for many organizations in Africa is create small consortium where they have a warehouse in Idaho, would have a warehouse in areas of very low cost, so that then shipping can be overnight. So we'll have programs at ONEZSM offer. What do you do before to get ready for the exporting? Then what do you do while exporting? Customer service, returns, warranties, etc. complications, increase strategic alliances, and then you got how do I grow? So those are basically 3 months programs, 1 month, once a week, 4 weeks, 1 hour a week for month 1. Month 2 is 4 weeks, once a week, 1 hour a week, and the same thing is the 3rd month. So you gotta educate and get the African entrepreneurs ready for coming here to the programs. So there will be business guidance courses, basically. There's gonna be ONEZSM will be key to certify all products and services they want to enter the US market. Without that, it's not gonna happen. ONEZSM will have specialists that will possibly also help African entrepreneurs in the funding for the entry. There are right now funds available both from the United Nations, from the African Development Bank, from private organizations, and from the US Congress of the United States. Today is too short to explain, but ONEZSM will provide those connections. So if there is an African entrepreneur or South American entrepreneur, but let's talk about Africa, if there is an African entrepreneur, they need to have some funding to enter the US market. I know if they've been in business for longer than 5 years, they can apply. And I understand the funding is anywhere between $10,000 per woman to up to $100,000. So this is the one that I discovered, and I'm in communication with them to get forms for qualification, and will be done through ONEZSM. There will be ONEZSM advisors for foreign markets, and there will be specialists. So the bottom line is ONEZSM is going to be the foundation, the core of the transformation of 1,000 African companies that become members. Let me just get back to the business program available to entrepreneurs. These are some: how to start your business, how to manage your business financially, international trade programs, export programs to the US and the EU, entrepreneurs programs for Africa, marketing for entrepreneurs globally, how to develop your sales globally, how to manage your manufacturing business, how to manage your services-oriented business, how to certify your products, and then looking for funding. So basically is a very, very solid support system for that we're going to be provided on ONEZSM. I'm going to be returning that to you. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, put them in the chat room, or just raise your hand, which you can do through the bottom of the screen. But I want to return this on here to Mika and Zazi. I spent a little bit more time because I know we were waiting for.
Of course. And I might add, he's just apologized profusely and sent me a few strange photographs of what's happening in Accra at the moment in the traffic. So he's asked if we could please include him in the next one, or perhaps revisit the conversation. And thank you so much, Professor. What a lovely presentation, and you're very kind. Trevor, I look forward to connecting with you, with Professor Ancis. I have no doubt if he has added you to the mix, you must be important and someone who can help us take things further. My last points, I guess, are just in terms of what Professor Ancis spoke about in terms of giving entrepreneurs in Africa an opportunity to access US markets with all the knowledge his training and experience provides. We also have an interesting opportunity to really, I think our goal at ONEZSM is to really focus on leveling that playing field. And with what Professor's offering, we absolutely not only get to empower the sort of upper echelon of SMMEs, but we also get to create cooperatives where people from different countries in Africa can contribute their products, and potentially as a collective, we could package that and enter the US market. So I think there's so many amazing opportunities in the mix. And also for those of you that are confused, we always have a giggle because everyone has a different way to pronounce ONEZSM. Yours is my favorite, Professor, ONEZSM. I'm an idealist, so ONEZSM is for me really about dissolving borders and imagining that we really are all one people, one earth, one whatever, and how we can all come together. So I'd also like to introduce you to Mika. Maybe he could just say hello to everybody.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I think Sasi has said,
I'm getting
hey,
there.
yeah, you should mute yourself first. Yeah, I think Sasi has said the most of it, and I always like to say that this whole ONEZSM project is her baby, and that's one of the reasons she is the main spokesperson on this. But what I would like to add is that one of our ideas, what we want to do, it's not only obviously everybody of us who are on this Globinar at the moment, everybody of us, we want to make some money. We are here just for the charity. But one of the most profound ideas what we have is that we call it butterfly effect. I don't know where it came from, but we call it butterfly effect. And it's our pledge to give 10% of our profits to good causes, good global causes, good local causes, to help entrepreneurs and societies and everybody else on the ground in Africa or where else it is. So yeah, so that's all I wanted to say basically.
Does anyone have any questions?
What I like to do, I like to basically, if you don't mind, I like to introduce Nima. Nima, do you have a video camera? Nima, do you have a video camera so people can see how great you look? There
Hello.
you are. There you are, Nima. Nima is the Global Chamber Director in Tanzania. Nima and I have worked together for the last 4 to 6 weeks. She is a absolutely incredible dynamo, and I'm looking forward to the ability to actually introduce what we have done together. She is the director in Africa of the Integrated Empowerment Initiative. She actually has connections with 1,500 to 2,000 entrepreneur African women, and she's absolutely fantastic. And she's actually the person that brought to my conversation with her to, I would say, probably, what would you say, about 150, 170 women in the past month or so?
Yes, Prof. And right now we have a quite number of women in French country that are very interested in coming to America, to the US. So they will add up to 200 or 300 very soon.
Yeah, and this is something that we can discuss off the thing, but I talked to Zasi. I had an NDA at the time, so I couldn't reveal your name, but now it's out. But I was going to see what I've been talking to Zazi and Mika is being able to create a stream flow of the people that you create in your organization, and then create a strategic alliance so they can all become members of this global ONEZSM organization that provides an incredible access to foreign markets. So we'll discuss it offline. But I want to acknowledge Nima for 4 to 6 weeks to literally bouncing the phones and the internet and the WhatsApp to actually allow women to know that there is a movement happening now in the world whereby African women will be assisted in bringing them to the African, to the American market, so that they can create that wellness, the richness that they're looking for their children, their families, and to expand their business in Africa. So I want to thank you, Nima, for doing what you're doing, and acknowledge you as a new member of the Global Chamber and director, and being absolutely a dynamo in terms of making a positive difference in Africa, especially in the world of women. And that is really dear to my heart. So Zazie and Mika, formally you get introduced to Nima unless you knew her before, but she's going to become well known globally.
I was actually just raising my virtual hand there because thanks to you and Global Chamber, Nima and I have connected. Mika was not present at the time due to other commitments, but we're about to sign an MOU in terms of how we can work together, etc. So as always, Professor, especially to you, but Global Chamber and everybody else, synchronicity is an amazing thing, and it's lovely that we're all on the same page. And Nima, so looking forward to working with you.
And same for me, Nima.
Yeah.
Nima, let me ask you a question, if you could. What would you say is the biggest challenge for the African entrepreneur to enter the U.S. market? You and I discussed it before, but it would be nice to hear from you on that.
Yes, I think the biggest challenge is fear. I would say that first, fear. They are very ready, but they're scared, and there's a point of uncertainty. What will happen next? What is happening? But I think the more we talk to them, the more we give them knowledge. Webinars like this, I think we went with Zazie in the African discussion before here, but I think more webinars like this, they help to be aware and also understand that this is the movement and this is where we're going. And we have a couple of them that I've sent them a link and they were able to join. I think they've come out with something that is really good.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you again, Nima, for the work you're doing. And I think the joining of forces between ONEZSM and you and what you're doing and other organization in Africa is basically, we're all working for the same purpose. We're all working for the same project. We're all working to make a positive difference in the life of thousands, 100,000, million of African men and women that basically had been, I have to say, sadly exploited for so many years by European, not so empowering organizations. But now's the time to that. You know, when you study history, you find out all the way from the Greeks to the Romans to the European development to the America being what it is. I think it's time right now for Africa as a continent to come up and gain that economic, commercial, and creative positioning in the world that they deserve. And I'm, Zazie and Mika, I have been fascinated by how creative, I've had, in my MBA class that I've taught, I've had tons of people from Nigeria, South Africa, but this time here I've been meeting people from Ghana, from Kenya, from Tanzania, from Uganda, from Botswana, and there is a common denominator, very creative, very active, very open. But as Nima mentioned, the anxiety, the fear of the unknown is basically a big stop. And I'll talk to you about, we have done some incredible programs here with coaching professors in terms of how to focus on and diffuse the fear element of the future, the anxiety. So I think probably that can become part of the program we provide in terms of how to become more effective. So you stop
I have no doubt.
getting blocks, you know?
Absolutely. and very relevant. Well, I don't know if anybody else has any final questions.
Hello, hello, Zazi.
Hello, Munir, how are you?
How are you?
Lovely, except we keep threatening to talk and we never do.
Yes, but
Well,
I have been,
yes,
I have been absent a while from the Global Chamber due to some work and some emergencies.
Oh, I'm so
And
sorry.
yes, I hope we will work on the subject that we discussed last time.
Mhm. I
Thank you
will
so much.
absolutely reconnect with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for Mr. Professor Robert for this interesting presentation. It's very interesting. And just I want to speak a little bit about Morocco, as I am the executive director of the Global Chamber Morocco, and only the exceptional position of Morocco as the only country in Africa that has signed a free trade agreement with the US. And I think that there is a big opportunities to work on it and to help companies introduce the US markets easily and to know, as the professor said, like training on product certification, etc., on accessing these markets, and also assisting them in many ways to study and to know much more the US and the markets and the US the customer mentality. What I want also to notice that I have made an experience on the agriculture and food industry products. So because I am an agronomist by academic background, so that's my field. So I wanted to work on like a trade platform to help exporters to export their products to the US markets. And I think with the professor we can discuss, and also with Zazi we can discuss after to how we can work on to develop this opportunity, develop it more, and to make it more efficient and realistic.
Absolutely.
Hello.
I couldn't agree more. And as we were saying earlier, I think it's about how many of us come together to shift the narrative and make a difference. Sorry, Doug, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you weren't interrupting. I think we reached the top of the hour, and I think the goal was to be a 1 hour session. Was that your goal today?
It was. I see Quasi's actually joining in desperation. He raced home, but he just asked if it's going on, please, and would everybody be prepared to give him a few minutes to say hello in preparation.
We're going to need to move on because many of us have other meetings, and including this Zoom link, it needs to be used for something else.
I thought so. So I will make sure we address that, and next time we will meet Quasi.
Hey, traffic around the world can be, whether it's Accra or Bangkok or many other cities, it gets really rough. Thank you so much for taking the time today to share this opportunity. I'd like to learn more about this, and definitely, I think there's a follow-up conversation in November. Do you have the date available?
I can tell you in a second. I think
we will see you at Globinar 2 is a slide. And so for those of you who are interested in the digital advancements that were talked about today, please tune into the next Globinar, which is sometime around November, middle of November,
I think it was
20th or something like that.
It was the 19th, Doug.
Okay, very good.
19th.
So thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Is there anything, Zazi, that you would like to say in conclusion?
Not at all. Just thank you so much to you and Professor Ancis, Mika, everybody, that Nima,
Yeah, and thank you from me as well. It's been absolutely a pleasure to be with you today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mika. Thank you, Nima. Thank you, Prof. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much, guys.